All right, today we're going to be talking about and using rules related to congruent triangles. Congruent triangles. If two geometric figures have exactly the same shape and size, they are congruent. The symbol for congruent is the equal sign with the little squiggly line above it. In two congruent polygons, all parts of one polygon are congruent to the corresponding parts of the other polygon. All right, so we're going to say two polygons are congruent if and only if their corresponding parts are congruent. So let's get a triangle ABC on your paper. Side AB gets 1 tick mark. Side BC gets 2 tick marks. And side CA gets 3 tick marks. Angle B gets 1 arc mark. Angle C gets 2 arc marks. And angle A gets 3 arc marks. And then we're going to draw another triangle right below it. We're going to label this one QRS. R to S is going to get 1 arc mark. S to Q is going to get 2 arc mark, or 2 tick marks. And QR gets 3. Angle R is going to get 1 arc mark. S, let's see, we're going to put angle Q. Let's see here, we need, this. This angle R up here, see angle R up here? It's going to have to get 3 of these. Angle S is going to get 1. And angle Q is going to get 2. So now today in your practice, you're going to be asked to list all the corresponding parts of 2 polygons. And when they say list all the corresponding or all the congruent parts of the 2 polygons, they mean list all the congruent angles and then list all the congruent sides. And then you're going to write a congruence statement. So first things first here, we're going to list corresponding angles. Corresponding angles. So angle B is congruent to which angle? Angle B is congruent to which angle? Angle S, good. Because they both have 1 arc mark. Angle C. Angle C is congruent to, what's C congruent to? Q, good. And then we got angle A. Angle A is congruent to, which one? R, good. So those are your corresponding angles, and they're all congruent to each other. Corresponding sides. Corresponding sides. Let's start with side AC. AC is congruent to which side? AC. AC is, all right, look, here, be careful. A to C, we're going from A to C. That side has 3 tick marks, doesn't it? So it's got to be congruent to the side that has 3 tick marks, which is QR. Side AB is congruent to which side? RS. And then we've got side BC is congruent to, side BC is congruent to side QS, good. Everybody see that? We're matching up arc marks and we're matching up tick marks. Now, here's the real important part, is the congruence statement. When you're writing a congruence statement, the order of the first shape The order of the vertices of the first shape does not matter. Okay? The order of the vertices of the first shape does not matter. So we're going to write a congruent statement, and I'm going to call the first triangle. I'm going to say triangle ACB is congruent to triangle. Now, the second triangle is where it gets super important. Because if we used vertex A as the first letter in describing the first triangle, then we have to use R as the first letter in describing the second triangle. Okay? Angle A has 3 arc marks, so the angle in the second shape that has 3 arc marks has to be listed first. So that's going to be triangle R. Now, because the A corresponds to the R, doesn't it? Up here, A was congruent to R. So since C is the second vertex listed, what does C correspond to? Q. Good. So RQ. And now there's only one left, isn't there? And that's RQS. Does everybody see that? Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to write another congruent statement. I'm going to list the first triangle, and we're going to call it BAC. And now it is congruent to triangle. If the first one is labeled BAC, then what's the first letter of the second description? C, good. What's the second vertex? We got BAC congruent to C, R, and what's left? S. Not C. I have no idea where I got it from. I think somebody said it. I'm not taking blame for that. It's whatever corresponds to B. B's got 1. Where did I get C? It's going to be S. What corresponds to the A is R. Whatever corresponds to the C is Q. Yes, thank you. And now, since there's 3 vertices, we can write a third congruent statement. Okay? There's 3 correct congruent statements for these 2 triangles. So we're going to use, we've used ACB, we used BAC. What's left? CBA? Say it again. Good, CBA. So triangle CBA is congruent to triangle. What's congruent to C? Good. What's congruent to B? And congruent to A. R. Very good. That's an extremely important concept that you hopefully understand right now, and you will continue to moving forward. The order of the first shape in the congruent statement doesn't matter. Again, the order of the first shape doesn't matter. But the order of the vertices in the second description have to all correspond to the order of the vertices in the first description. Does everybody see that? Let's write an incorrect congruent statement. All right? If I gave you triangle, and we'll go triangle BAC. Let's write an incorrect congruent statement. Triangle BAC. All right, if B has 1 arc mark, then doesn't S have to go first? All right, so if I just write a description of the second triangle, but I don't list S first, if I call it QRS, are those 2 congruent? No. So this becomes a not congruent. BAC is not congruent to QRS because angle B has to correspond to angle Q. And in this picture, angle B is right here. It's got one arc mark. Angle Q has two arc marks. Those two angles are not congruent to each other. Therefore, that congruent statement will not work for those two triangles. Yes? Yeah, I think so. Well, I mean, how many ways can you order 3 letters? ABC, BCA, yeah. As many ways as you can order the 3 letters is how many ways you can write the congruent statement. All right, but I know with 3 vertices, you can write it at least 3 different ways. Okay? 6, thank you. Did you just list them all? Very good. Thank you. All right, so now we're going to use congruent statements to find missing angles. So let's do this. In the diagram, in triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DFE. Find the value of X and Y. And then you're given a couple of triangles. Here's ABC. A 45, 99, and 36. Side lengths of 32.1. $38.4 and 54. Then we got this triangle below it. DEF. This angle up in here, F, is 8y minus 5. Side FE is 2y plus x. And now what we got to do is solve for x and y. So we're going to use the congruent statement to determine which angles and sides are congruent to each other so that we can set up an expression so that we can solve for some variables, okay? So if we start off looking at this 8y minus 5, and 8y minus 5 is the expression for angle F. Angle F is congruent to which angle? They're both the middle letter in their description. So what does F correspond to? B. Good. So F and B are congruent to each other. So what does the 8y minus 5 equal to? 99. Good. And that's how you use a congruent statement to set up an equation. Got it? Now, what you have to be careful of, what they did on this triangle is they called this one on the left ABC, and they went, you know, clockwise. Both triangles were sitting in kind of the same position. what will happen moving forward is they will go clockwise with one description, counterclockwise with another description, or they'll flip one of the triangles, or they'll rotate the triangle. So make sure that when you're determining which angles are congruent, you're looking at the congruent statement. All right? B is in the middle here. If B is in the middle in this description, then it is congruent to whatever vertex is in the middle of the second description. So we can solve for y now. We're going to add 5 to each side. So 8y equals 104. Divide by 8. And y equals, somebody? 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 Thank you. Y'all should have a calculator out on your desk when you're taking notes and doing practice problems and all this other stuff. So we got y equal to 13. Y is equal to 13. So now, this expression over here, 2y plus x, we got to solve for this x. The expression 2y plus x corresponds to side FE. Side FE is the second and third letter in the description. So side FE corresponds to which side of the first triangle? BC, because B and C are the second and third letters of the first description. So we get to write another equation. We're going to write 2, and instead of putting the y, we're going to use what y is equal to. So we got 2 times 13 plus x is equal to, all right, side BC, and side BC is 38.4. So 26 plus x equals 38.4, and we can subtract 26 from each side. And x is equal to 26. Yeah, 12. Okay, so they asked us to solve or find the value of x and y. Here's our x value, and here's our y value. You guys feel comfortable using those congruent statements to determine which sides and angles are congruent to each other? Everybody handle that? Anybody confused on that concept? All right, let's get the third angles theorem in your notes. The third angles theorem states that if two angles of one triangle are congruent to two angles of another triangle, then the third angles are congruent. If two angles of one triangle are congruent to two angles of another triangle, then the third angles are congruent. So if we got a triangle here, ABC, and another triangle here, DEF, if A and B are congruent to D and F, all right, does that kind of make sense to you? That if these two are congruent to each other, all right, if you add angle A to angle B and you subtract it from 180, you're going to get angle C, right? Well, if those two numbers are the same as angle D and angle F, won't angle E be congruent to angle C? Okay? If two are congruent, then the third is congruent. So we can say here that if A is congruent to D and B is congruent to F, then C is congruent to E. If A is congruent to D and B is congruent to F, then C is congruent to E. All right, let's do this since this is so extremely important. Let's call triangle CBA. Let's write a congruent statement. Triangle CBA is congruent to which triangle? Triangle CBA is congruent to triangle what? EFD, good. And let's do one more. Let's say triangle, what did we do? CBA and we did EFD. Let's go DFE. Triangle DFE. What's it congruent to? DFE is congruent to which triangle? A little louder? ABC, good. All right. Any questions about anything we've done today or talked about? Corresponding congruent parts of triangles. Corresponding angles and corresponding sides. All right, then, your practice for today. Page 47. Page 47, you got problems 1 through 4. Page 48. You got 1 through 4 again. Not a whole lot of work to do today. And then number 6. And I'm pretty sure we're going to be in here for a while again today. Hopefully it won't be as long as yesterday, but I know that we are going to be in here until at least 10:35 because of testing. So we haven't had a homework assignment. We haven't had a homework assignment in a while. So make sure that you check focus for homework sometime later on today. All right, I need you guys at home to check out.
All right. Well, it's Ryan, and I'm leaving.
Thank you.
No problem.
It's Kiara, and I'm leaving.
Thank you.
This is Andres, and I'm leaving.
Thank you.
This is Isaiah, and I'm exiting the call.
Thank you.
This is Ben, and I'm leaving.
Thank you, Ben.